Well, my friends, what you are about to watch is what can happen to a player that gets imprisoned. Stick around if you want to see someone drop from 60 million power to having literally no troops. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming. Today, we're watching a player get completely 100% zeroed from 60 million power. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. You can see this player, Sparky, 1987, maybe the date they were born, had 60 million power, and yeah, they got imprisoned by our allies 258 in Kingdom versus Kingdom. Now, the thing about Imprison is that you can't teleport for 10 minutes, which is not a good situation if you have War Frenzy and you don't know what you're doing. This player, I'm going to assume, has War Frenzy and doesn't know what to do about it. They're stuck. They're stuck, and 258 is now collecting around their city. Now, you're not just going to watch in this video a player get imprisoned and rallied down. I mean, that'd be cool. No, you're going to watch them just get swarmed straight up from 60 million to, I don't even know how low they're going to go, but they'll have no troops left. That's right. That's right. 258 figures, you know what? We only have so much time. You only live once. Let's just swarm them down. So now they're getting into position, and in this video, we'll talk a little bit about how you defend against this sort of shenanigan. If you didn't see my video yesterday, we did some critique on footage of Omniarch getting rallied. He also is a 60+ million power player. He had a Charles Martel and Isong on the wall. This is a situation where Charles Martel and Isong would be freaking amazing to have on your wall so that when your city is getting swarmed, you have lots of counterattack damage, lots of area effect damage to really do a maximum punish. This player, unfortunately for them, is using a Richard I on their wall, which you'll see very, very soon, and that is going to be a problem. Now, you can see it's been kind of a while here that they've been kind of waiting with this player imprisoned. I only got to look at this after it had already happened, so I don't know how long they've already been imprisoned, presumably for some number of minutes already, and they say, you know what? No time to wait for the rally. They start swarming. I would not do this, for the record. I would not do this unless we really had it out for the player, but here we are. You can see one of those marches got taken down to half health really quickly. It looks like perhaps that Edward march might have been tanking when it wasn't meant to tank so early on. Probably they wanted the Richard I Charles Martel to be tanking in this situation. And I think it might just be an Isong on the wall. It might just be an Isong on the wall. Maybe it's a Sun Tzu. Let's see if we can check the secondary here. Maybe it's a Sun Tzu. Unfortunately, the simplified graphics fired up as I was recording this footage, but you can see Sparky is in a world of hurt here. And in fairness, if we had a copy of all these reports, we would go and look at them, and I bet you that Sparky went about even, right? Like, he's probably going to kill as many troops as he loses. The problem is, that's going to be spread out across all these different players, and Sparky's going to have no troops left. 0 troops left. Now, that doesn't happen from the first time they go from maximum health down to 0. No, that is going to happen in the subsequent times when they get hit over and over and over again, assuring that their hospital completely overflows. Because in this situation, I think their hospital would already be pretty precarious. We can see they've lost about 3 million power. I go in and I look. They have no more dead troops than they had at the start. But now is when things get, again, very precarious. Sparky needed to heal his troops in that very brief 3 to 5 second window when combat ended. He needed to queue up the healing of his troops, because when you're in combat, you cannot queue troop healing. Your hospital only fills and fills and fills. I think he tries to run some troops out of his city, which ends up changing his commander to a Lohar, which, like, this was very, very bad and works very much against him. Now he's got a Sun Tzu, but this is all gone way out of control very quickly here, from bad to really, really, really bad. We can see the rally is now swarming the city. It doesn't even have a place to hit, which means the second he gets knocked out over here, boom, the rally is connecting again. So there's no chance at all to heal his troops. And at this point, everything that would have gone to the hospital is now 100% dead troops, because his hospital has got to be completely full. You can also see the Ethelflaed March of his was out on the field, and I just, it's an interesting idea to prevent your troops from hitting the hospital to try to run them out of your city, but there's too many enemy marches here for that to be a thing, and instead, now he's got the wrong commanders on his wall. The king of 258, I believe, just popped their king skill, which, like, this is the moment where you pour one out for Sparky, because it's all dead troops from here, ladies and gentlemen. It's all, I mean, I'm just staring in awe, because it's all dead troops from here. And again, I think he probably went about even with everybody here, right? Like, I bet you he inflicted as many deaths as he took, but it's spread across all these players who don't care, and I'm quite confident that they care, that they basically will have a hospital's worth of marches. So we're talking about like 600 and, 90,000 troops, something like that, 690,000 troops, depending on VIP. So not even 50% expanded marches after all this has ended, and it's still going. He's still imprisoned. He can't go anywhere. He's continuing to get swarmed. Huge problem. Huge problem. Now, he can still teleport while getting swarmed. The problem is he's imprisoned, which is preventing him from teleporting at all. So the second this imprison ends, he can teleport out of this situation. But he's already down to 50 million power. We get a quick look here. He's doubled the number of dead troops he's had over the lifetime of the account. 1.25 mil to 2.5 mil. Very, very savage. You can see here that they did get the buff for getting a whole bunch of resources when you lose a lot of troops in a short window. I guess it's not a buff, but where do they all go if his city teleported away? So then he teleported out of the situation, and my best guess is that he lost at least 1.5 million troops. I didn't see where he teleported to exactly when this combat had ended. This brings us to an important question. What should you do if you are imprisoned? First and foremost, for the love of all that's holy, do not scout. Do not reactivate your war frenzy. When you engage in combat or even scout a friend, I'll scout the last Spartan, who's a good old friend here. We send a scout so I know he won't mind. You can see here that we get War Frenzy, okay? And that War Frenzy lasts for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, you get 3% damage boost, but you also cannot use a Peace Shield. A Peace Shield is an easy way out of a situation where you're getting rallied. In fact, if that player had gone out of War Frenzy, they would have Peace Shielded in the middle of that 10-minute window and been fine. As a king myself, I actually wait to see someone reactivate their War Frenzy for 15 minutes before I imprison them to guarantee that they can't get out of that situation with a Peace Shield. Then you've got 10 minutes of wreaking havoc, okay? But Peace Shield is the first thing you should try to create a world in which you can go and do. The next thing you want to think about is making sure that your garrison is correct. Make sure that your garrison captain has the best gear that you can possibly put on them before you take whatever is about to happen. This is not my best set of gear. This is a backup set of gear. Not bad for a backup set. My gear is normally on my Canyon team. I'll just point out very briefly that if you're defending your city, things like the Windswept set are really good because 2% of boost to stats is going to apply to all of your troop types. Think of it like 8% stats. It's actually very, very good. I know I've talked about that in a lot of videos. I'll put a card up in the top for my city defense playlist if you're looking for a little more in-depth information on that. So if you're in the middle of all of that craziness, the thing that you're going to be looking for is the opportunity to heal your hospital at the end of a combat. When you drop all the way down to 0, there will be a 3 to 5 second window before they probably start swarming you again, where you might be able to pop off a hospital heal if you have enough resources. And even if you don't, you just mash that heal button, right? Like you open that hospital, you mash and heal, or you have to open, close your hospital. For the second you get out of combat, boom, you jam off a heal. Doesn't even matter how much is in there. Smash the help button. Look, probably your hospital will be full, assuming you've got enough resources. You'll heal the max amount, which is amazing. And if you heal those troops in the middle of the combat, they'll jump right back into the fighting, which is potentially good for you. Another trick you can do is to heal them, but not collect them. That used to basically make it so that your hospital was empty, so that it could fill again, but you hadn't claimed the troops, so you could have them here, 690,000 troops unclaimed. So in a worst case, instead of having only the 690,000. Let me double check. Yeah, it is 690,000. you could have double that amount, the number of uncollected healed units, and also the number of units in your hospital, which would be a pretty slick pickup. I mean, look, double the troops is kind of a big deal. The other thing that I think is really important to prepare yourself for this sort of situation is to not have lower tiers of troops that are going to clog up precious space in your hospital. I use T4s for fighting in the field, which allows me to fight as much as I could possibly want in the field without having to ask for resources, although I do really enjoy when people gift them to me. I mean, if I was gifted tons of resources endlessly, I'd fight with T5 in the field, even though that's crazy expensive, because I've got the speed ups. But my point here, and I sort of digress, is that you really don't want to have low tiers of troops living in your city, because you're going to end up with 690,000 troops in your hospital, and if half of them are T1, you're really going to not be thrilled about that, okay? So at least for me, it'll be a blend of T5 and T4 if I ever found myself in that terrible situation. Going in, you do, of course, want to make sure you've got your garrison commanders on the wall. You want to make sure that you go to your commander tab and set your garrison commanders over here so you get a couple extra percentage points. And I'll just mention, of course, you want to have your build lined up. Now, there's a lot of builds that you can use, and if you're getting swarmed, this is a YSS build that I particularly like. I've shared in the past some infantry builds I think are really good for that. I'll put a card up in the top, but I really like Know Thy Enemy. Reducing the damage you take by 9% when you're surrounded is honestly a very big deal. Hopefully you don't find yourself in this situation that Sparky 1987 found themselves in, imprisoned and surrounded. If anything, this should make you really think twice about being, deep into enemy territory and off of your own territory in a war zone in Kingdom versus Kingdom. People are looking to zero, and I'm a little surprised on the one hand that we're using Imprison on a 60 million power player, but on the other hand, I personally held my Imprisoned the entire KVK in case a special someone decided to do stuff, and they didn't, and so I didn't use Imprisoned all KVK. Probably could have got some value there that I didn't get. So probably, I would encourage kings to maybe be a little more aggressive with it than I have been, and players to treat it like the mortal threat that it is. Honestly, to the point that you want to keep track of when your enemy kingdom doesn't have the cooldown available, so that you know when it's okay to be really dangerous versus when you could get into big trouble. Of course, when there are many kingdoms involved, you never know which kingdom might go and imprison you, so that's 4 cooldowns to watch. We left ours open at all times, so we could have wrecked just about anybody anytime. Again, I think we should have and we didn't, but that's a separate matter entirely. If someone's got a ton of resources and you want to go get them, that Imprison could be very savage. If you enjoyed this video, consider throwing a like onto it and subscribing to the channel for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. I'll encourage you to go check out that playlist I linked earlier. Tap the info button up in the top for more city defense videos. That's been a very popular topic recently. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.